aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, it carries and is approved. Reports, boy, we'll be out of here by 5:45. This
Oh,
is
don't
great.
say that.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Jinx. Okay, leadership reports, maintenance and facility update. I see
Bill
Bill
Henderson.
brought his files neatly rolled up there.
It's gonna be a
Oh,
long night. That's why I said be careful.
So,
Okay.
it's been pretty busy around the district, especially summertime and such. So, the prison was here this summer. They did a great job for us. I just want to personally thank Scott DePew, Ron Howell, but Scott's retiring. I'd just like to say he's done a great job when he's been here. I'm going to miss Scott. He really, he tried to make things, he always wanted to make sure it was done right and such. So he was always on his prisoners and stuff to do it right. So I'm going to miss him being back. He was just a good guy to work with. So I just want to say. But they did a great job for us this summer. They came in, painted the exterior of the high school, pressure washed the front entryways, did a lot of cleaning on the building with pressure washer. We had the lift for 2 months this summer, so they did a lot of pressure washing cleaning. CTE building, same thing. They went down there. They did a lot of cleaning down there. They painted the upper section of the CTE where we were getting a lot of just fading from the sun and such. As well. In the district office and the administration is back there as well. Parking lots, all the parking lots that have latex paint on them, which is just roll paint, they went ahead and repainted those as well. That looks really good out there. So again, they do a great job for us. So, the elementary kitchen over at the elementary kitchen, we had the Sparta coat put in, so everything was removed inside the kitchen. All the countertops and everything was taken out, and Sparta coat was brought in. We put Sparta coat in there. It's a great flooring. Same thing we put in our concessions. So that was completed and everything was back in place. So they had issues with the flooring that was in there. A lot of the seams were having problems, and what had been happening is the seams were all capped in there for years and years, and so they were always going over stuff. And so now it's a nice floor for them. So that was good this summer. The maintenance department replaced between 80 and 90 faucets, hoses, and stops that we had to do for the health department with the lead and water. We're waiting for testing. Testing should be November 22nd. And between now and then, we have to run the faucets on a regular basis daily. They want to make sure any debris from the faucet is out of it because that could throw the tests off. So they'll take another test. Once we get the all clear, we can pull the stickers off the sinks and go back to things as normal. Let's see, we've got in the biomass, the bags were replaced in the bag house. I got a couple bad news things that happened. Towards the end of August, we had that power outage. We had that 17-hour power outage. So it did some damage to our big generator when it came back on. So it kind of burned up the controller in it. So we had an issue with the unit running when there was not a power outage at the time. So we got it shut down and shut off for the time being. I've had Cummins Northwest come out and take a look at it. They've given us the pricing. They've ordered the parts, and hopefully we'll get that put back together as soon as we can.
So it's not functioning right now.
He said he thinks it will function if the power goes out, if I go manually turn it on. He's thinking it will, but he can't be 100% because we didn't have a way to just kill the power without getting PUD and such there. But he looked at what happened to it, and the main screen for the controller and such is all damaged in the switchgear.
How that damage?
I'm guessing it was the power outage because it happened right after that.
Isn't that supposed to lead to a score? So it's kind of funny if we get damaged on that.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's in the main switchgear, and it's pretty expensive to have repaired.
I
But
imagine, yeah.
we're getting that fixed. The parts are ordered, and hopefully we'll have that put back up here in the next few weeks.
Then the warranty.
But
Maybe
we
we go
can,
back on the PUD.
no, we would turn it into our risk pool for, there's, I think, a $2,000 deductible because we're looking at like,
But we also lost the
17
security
grand?
system
Yeah.
at the elementary school. So that got fried at the same time. So it wiped out a bunch of the memory and stuff in that. And so I had to have that replaced, and that was.
Aren't these things on surge protectors of some sort?
Well, you would think that's what I meant, a generator
Yeah.
that's supposed to come on when the lights come on, it would have some kind of system.
Yeah, well, that in
Not blow-
particular is
yeah,
ironic,
It's
but
kind of funny. that it
yeah,
was-
He said they've had problems with those before.
great.
Yeah.
That's a,
But as for the security system, that was a 36-year-old security system. But, so we got our,
yeah, we got modern electricity now and they don't work together.
but, and that's been repaired, put back together, so that's back up and running, everything's good over there. Generator will be back up in a few weeks, so we'll have that back up and going. We do have some failures that are starting to happen in the biomass plant with our VFDs, which is variable frequency drives is what they are. So they run the motors to the pumps. They tell it when it needs more water, when they need less water, so it runs them up and down. And those are just to the life expectancy. The fans and stuff are going.
Call
back
Phil.
and such. And they're very expensive though. So I'm trying to figure a way to get the cost down on those a little bit. So I've got some calls into CED. I'm trying to buy the drives ourselves and see if we can get them here, and then Johnson Controls can come and install on the program. So they have the controls on the biomass plant, and so they'll have to program those to control with the biomass. So, but anyway, those are starting to go. But we've got our time out of those.
And what kind of expense is there to that? I missed
That's
that.
about $28,000
For the
Biomass?
total?
for the VFDs. Yeah,
And
What does VFD stand for again?
it's variable frequency drives
and they'll work on, because this thing's getting to be pretty old now.
on biomass. The new
15
ones
years.
the new ones are completely different. Those are older ones. They don't make those anymore.
Right.
So the new ones.
Okay, so it's just a whole new unit.
Yeah, so there'll be 4 new units put on them. We have 4 pumps that have the older VFDs on them. And
But
so-
the new ones will work with these pumps?
Yeah. The
And
pumps
so
are just
4 of them are
$1,000.
$28,000.
Yeah, it's just like an
Okay,
electric motor. And all
Yeah.
it does is tells the motor to speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, which works the pump, tells it more water, less water.
gotcha.
Kind of thing. So, but those, like I said, I'm trying to get some pricing down on that a little bit, see if we can buy them through CED and go that route. So I'm waiting for a price to come back. I was able to get those, all of our catch basins sucked out. I just fumbled onto it. I called everybody. I think I had one more person to call, and I found out Olympic Electric at a pump truck, and they don't normally do that. They use it for digging. When they go to dig, they'll use their truck. I called them and said, we don't really do that, but they do enough business with us that they said, yeah, we'll do that for you. So we saved quite a bit on that by having them come out and do it. So I'm hoping to talk with them on the next go round too and see if I can continue to have them come out and take care of that for us. So we installed the gate over at the elementary school, and it's been working pretty good. I went ahead and added an antenna on it just so they had more distance so they wouldn't have to stop right at the gate. So there's an antenna on that. It's working pretty good. The one thing we've noticed through maintenance is that in the morning, we'll go through to pick up the big garbage first thing in the morning, so it's not in the lawns and such. We always find a lot of garbage and things on the back, and we haven't been seeing that. So I think it's kind of cut down on the amount of through traffic.
I haven't figured out you can drive the wrong way, huh?
Yeah, I think people like to make.
Maybe they need to go to school.
So.
Is that hooked up to electricity or a battery?
It's got both.
Oh.
So it's got batteries in it, and then it's also electricity coming from the elementary school. So we rented an excavator from Jerry's. We dug the ditch, got Olympic Electric to come and run all the wiring for it and such. So it's coming out of the elementary though. We put new lighting in the elementary gym, so we upgraded that to LED, getting away from those metal halides that were in there. We also just got the new projectors installed both over at the elementary school and the one here at the high school. So those are the new laser projectors that are up. Let's see. You might notice up when you're at the grandstand over on the south side, there was a new piece of concrete there. We had to cut out the concrete, the standpipe got broke in the ground. It just got used and stuff pulling on it back and forth. So we had to cut out the asphalt in order to get down to the standpipe. So that got replaced and repaired.
Standpipe for what?
the water out of the grandstand. There's a standpipe. on
And
either end.
what are they doing that they break
No,
it?
It just got broken. We got taken care of.
Yeah,
We had to shut the water off for the water bill.
sounds like vandalism to me.
It's taken care of and done.
Hmm.
Right at the end of last year, or towards the end of last year, we updated the lighting and transportation down in their main shop. Got that taken care of. Custodians, by the way, did a wonderful job this summer. They went through, cleaned up classrooms. Yes, I can't say enough for the custodians. They worked really hard. Did a nice job. Got a lot of stains out of the carpets and stuff that they were working on. So I was really proud of, especially some of the newer people that we had here. So they did a great job on that. Let's see. Oh, the fire alarms throughout the facilities. We have to have them tested every year. So we got all that taken care of, but we have a monitoring agency that monitors for us, and they monitor our security and our fire. Some of the issues that we kept running into in the last few years is that the monitoring would go down. And so it would put all of our panels in trouble. And then we didn't have any monitoring. And so we switched that over to another company this year. And it took a little bit, it cost a little bit to get switched over, but we're with a better company. They're just out of Port Angeles there. They're with International Monitoring, which is a big company that goes nationwide. But since we've switched to them, I haven't had any issues with our panels. And so that's been a really good thing. It makes sure that we have coverage. There have been times where we didn't have coverage for a week on our buildings. Yeah, and so it's nice to know that we're safe and secure. They also put in cellular links, is what they did. So it's cellular calling that comes from it with a internet background, wired, for calling out. So it worked out real well. We should be able to cut our phone lines off now and save some dollars that way as well. So backflow was checked throughout our facilities. Fire extinguishers were all checked through our facilities. Sprinkler systems were completely checked. So through the district and through maintenance, we updated into a program called FMX now for work orders and calendar. It's been a pretty good system. A little slow getting started because you got to get a lot of information put into it. We were using help desk for the work order system, but now we are online with FMX, and it's working out pretty well for us so far. And so the other thing we'll be implementing is a program called E3. So E3 will go on every computer within the district. And so if there's a lockdown or anything along those lines, they'll know right off the bat. An administrator can put the building into lockdown. They can lock the entire facility down. And what I mean by that's the entire district down, or they can lock down just their building. It gets sent directly to the police department, which really helps us because sometimes when we get a lockdown, we have a phone tree. We go through the phone tree, and every once in a while somebody gets missed. This way nobody gets missed. Everybody pops up on your computer, pops up on your phone. If you want it as an app, it's there, it lets you know.
And this is a mandate from the legislators. It is an unfunded mandate. It's called Alyssa's Law, and we're required to have one of 5 things, like a panic button in every classroom. I don't know all the examples, but this is the one that we chose. We thought was most practical for Forks.
We're also
talked
giving law
about that.
enforcement
Where was that at?
access to some
Was it
computer
last year?
Mhm,
so that
I think they had a- Work session.
mhm.
Yeah.
So we're getting ready to implement that. Geez, we've had lots of things going on this summer. Added rails. We had to go where the excavator did today for the cultural resource study for the baseball project. So we had the excavator out there. We had to dig 30 holes in the back. So we got that taken care of. By the way, they didn't find anything. It's going through its process right now, so we should hear something back in the next 2 weeks. Alternative school, we ended up rekeying that completely and putting it to the best system. It wasn't on the best core system, so now any grandmaster can just go over and get through the building. It makes it easier for all of us instead of having different keys for the facility. Had to do wiring throughout the facilities at different times for projectors, moving copy machines, things like that. So there were some new outlets and stuff installed here and there throughout. Field Turf came out, did their GMAX testing, and they did a complete inspection, cleaning of the field that we've been doing with them. Things look great on our field. Our field's in great shape. The only thing that pops up, and it pops up every time, is our soccer kicking zones. We got to make sure that we try to get the coaches to refill those treatment zones. But that's each time. It's the same thing because, you know, a lot of times on the weekends, kids love to come down and use that field. And there's always people on it. So they'll kick, you know, 100 times in that one spot, you know, on the weekend. So, but those are the areas that we got to focus on, those areas to keep those filled.
And these are corner kicks.
Corner kicks and exactly. And so he caught me and Mike said, hey, Bill, just work on those. Everything else looks great. So we do keep rubber and sand underneath the grandstand so that coaches can access that and go over and fill those. So let's see, what else do we have? There's some playground equipment we had to do some work with. We had to upgrade the heating system for the Johnson controls towards the end of last year in there, so that's been upgraded. And then on November 17th, we have AES coming out to do the study for the soils. It's basically the soils tests over at the where the ball fields are going to go at the elementary school in the back, so November 17th. And lots of miscellaneous stuff was done throughout that I've kind of written down here, but you know, ballast work that had to be done. When we lost that power outage, we lost some of our battery backup ballast throughout. So we've got to go back and rewire some of our lights and stuff and get those done. Same thing with some exit lights. We got to replace some exit lights and such out. So, I think we added some ovens in the home ec as well. We put the new ovens in there,
Oh,
all those installed and such. I think it's working good. I haven't heard any negative from Shelley on it, so I hope they're working good for it.
Anybody buy the old ones?
I think they went to surplus, so I don't think we've got them out to the other schools yet. I'll have to check.
I don't know.
Okay. I know that a lot of surplus is starting to come in and we're trying to do it a little bit different, so we don't have to hold on to it as long. Hazel was great. She went ahead on all those books that you guys just surplused. She sent it out to other schools asking if they wanted it, so that's the first step. And then after that, we'll ask if anybody else needs it or wants it, and we can go from there and have a sale.
Anybody want them yet?
So,
Not yet.
but besides that, is there anything that you guys have seen or whatnot or want to know more about throughout the facilities? Anything that,
Just up in the, where we do the clock,
Mhm.
there's a little water spot. Did you see that?
yeah, I think we get condensation around that. I saw
You
right where
think
that
it is?
pipe goes through.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had any leaks or anything.
Yeah, that's what I can't remember if it was there last year or not, but I think you said I thought it was new. this
Yeah,
year.
I seen it right there with the pipe that goes through it.
Yeah.
Thinking condensation from just that pipe being right there. But we'll keep an eye on it because we know.
Yeah,
it's the same. Yeah.
Okay, it's the only thing I seen. Other than that, it looks great.
Okay.
No.
I am a little nervous on that middle school roof just because we're quite a bit over the life expectancy on it. So, you know, we're trying to hold out and keep it together as long as we can, you know. Jay's got some good news for us, so that'll be another good piece that's coming here a little bit later, but.
It's not gonna rain anymore. Is that the news we have?
Bill, I just want to thank your maintenance and custodial crew. They work really, really hard, and our buildings really appreciate the work they do on a day in, day out basis.
Thank you all, let them know.
They're,
Thank you,
they're
thank you,
fantastic.
If you ever see anything or you want to know anything, I'm an open book, just ask me.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill.
you, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Bill.
Bill.
Good job. Okay, October enrollment. Why don't we have a budget tonight?
Because Jan is closing out
Last
the
year's books.
2024-25 school year with the F-196 and just completed that. So
Next time.
Yeah.
Budget.
all right, so the monthly attendance in October or enrollment. But we are just in QVSD only, really at budget, averaging minus 1.54. So at budget, actual budget 822. Just really right on for Forks Elementary School, just a little bit under. And oh, that's right. Sarah's at an ECAP meeting tonight, but I think our ECAP is full too, which is good news. Middle school, a little bit above. And high school, we have on the average plus 13. So right around 220. Homeschool plus, we are transitioning kids in and out, is that right? Kind of getting them settled, or we're,
No, they're pretty much stagnant right now.
Okay.
It's full at 40.
yeah, we're right around 40. And Insight School of Washington, we continue to see the trends, upward trends. And Myron can speak to more specifics once we get through this, but for the month of October, shy a little bit in the elementary. Same with middle school, but not too far off at 685, and then 1,662 for the high school Insight. And so for the month of October, we're getting closer to our 43 actual, or what we budgeted, on the average down 700, and that's going to change, shift as the year progresses. Myron, you can either talk about this now or when it's your turn to
I can just tell you as of right now, so as of this morning, we have 643 approved kids for elementary, 742 kids approved for middle school, and 1,881 kids approved for high school. So since our 10-1 count, we've gone up by about 100 kids. No, about close to 100 kids. Year over year, this date last year compared to this date this year, we're overall about 240 kids above where we were last year at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you. All right, board member reports. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Nothing from me.
Shannon, Ron,
No, this last football game is Thursday instead of Friday, so
who they play?
Napa.
Napa Vine.
All right,
That's good. We'll beat
7
the
o'clock?
heavy winds. Or rain.
7 o'clock on Thursday instead of
Yeah.
Friday.
okay.
And I just had, went to a couple volleyball games. That was fun. And
They play one more tomorrow night in Raymond, and if they win, they get the tie for the league, and then I think they do a toss for who gets in the first seed.
yeah, so that's
Toss the
exciting.
coin.
I also went to the elementary school book fair. It was really cute. And I'm kind of watching a House Bill 1296 over parental rights. You know one coming?
Mhm.
Yeah. So
What about it?
parents are wanting some of their rights back for their kids,
Uh-huh.
and that's what it
Sounds
sounds
right.
like. So
Sounds
it's
right.
House Bill 1296. So just kind of watching that, see what happens. yeah.
Thanks, yeah, keep us updated on that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's neat.
And I just had a question. I noticed the hospital's ambulance was back at the football game Friday.
Mhm.
What happened to our deal with the fire department, and did we have to pay him?
That I do not know. I apologize. I was not here. I had
No,
to
you
go out
weren't.
of town.
No, I think we didn't have to pay him. I think Kyle told me that.
Bill
Okay,
knows.
Bill knows.
They didn't have enough people to man the ambulance for the fire department. People were out ill, and so we had to set something at the hospital, and yes, we did have to pay.
Oh, you did? Okay.
okay, thanks.
So it was just for that one game.
So the hospital wants to be paid, but the fire department does it for just volunteer?
The fire department volunteers and comes down, and the hospital gets paid.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but, okay, that was all I had, so if there's nothing else. Myron, anything in addition to your enrollment?
Yeah, so last week we actually held a virtual college and career fair in what we call the K-12 zone. I don't know if the K-12 zone basically is like a digital campus, if you will. where kids can kind of get the avatars. They can walk in the building. So we had a little room set for every one of the different colleges that were there. And we had the presenters inside the room, so kids could join that room, and then they could hear from the presenter and communicate with the presenter in real time. We had 15 different or 14 different presenters, and we had quite a few kids popping in and out. I think we counted around 50 or 60 kids that kind of popped in and out and visit with them. Some of them spent a lot of time talking with the presenters. But this is the first time we've done this in the K-12 zone, and we had great feedback. In fact, one of the colleges actually said this was very similar to going to a college for a normal building, which is what our intent was. So we were super excited about that. So we're doing more of those kinds of events.
You think you got a bigger turnout doing it virtually like that?
I don't know if we get a bigger turnout. I think that doing it in the K-12 zone, it makes it, we have to do a little bit of lead up where we have to bring in the presenters into the K-12 zone and teach them how to use the platform, because it's more like a gaming kind of a platform where they have an avatar and they have to know how to manipulate their avatar and be able to monitor the chat, which isn't terribly difficult. We have to train them on doing that. But I would say that doing it in the K-12 zone presents itself in a much better, it's more school feely, if you will, than doing it in, let's say, the Zoom room or what we call our Engagely online school classrooms where you're in breakout rooms, because it feels more like a building, right? You have all these avatars inside the room, and it just kind of looks like a school. It just happens to be a digital version of a school.
Would something like that work for us? And would you get more vendors, so to speak?
I don't know, we actually at our last career fair in the spring, we had a full audience. It was, the gymnasium was cram-packed full,
Full of
vendors
student,
and
okay.
students. I think we do better in person. That's just
Okay.
my humble opinion.
Just asking. Okay,
In fact, we'll invite you to the next one.
yeah.
You
What'd you say?
can represent with QVSD. You want to be a teacher? You want to be a
Hell no.
paraeducator?
No, and no.
Okay.
Thanks, Myron. Anything else? All right. Any questions for Myron before we go to page 2?
Thank you, Myron.
All righty. First up on unfinished business is the middle school replacement project. Jay, your first part in this is an update on the committee, advisory committee.
Thank you for pulling that up, Hazel. Good to see you again, Shannon, Ron, Kevin,
Hi.
Mike, Bill, Diane, Hazel. See you guys all the time. First I want to discuss the Forks Middle School replacement. So we've just started the advisory committee, keyword on advisory. This has been reiterated to the team numerous times. The goal is to get together monthly with community members. That involves parents of students, teachers, administrative staff, and the like, to get together and really identify what needs to be done in order to pass a bond in November 2026 to replace Forks Middle School. And so this first meeting, the main objective was to identify the key project values and review the intent of the advisory committee. As I just mentioned, that they are an advisory committee. Everything that is spoken there comes before the board, and you all will have final say. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we did a workshop. What's on these postcards isn't too important. Just that we did a workshop in a classroom where I had a list of project values pre-printed and some blanks that were available for people to add on to. Left side being very important for the school, and the right side being not important. I'm trying to put that to a scale and really come together to a consensus as a group as to what really is important for Forks Middle School. For example, the outlier as the not important, that one specifically was modernization. That was not at all important. That barely even made it on the wall. People wanted to throw it out the adjacent window. So definitely want a new school. And thank you. What we ended up coming to on the far left that was important were 7 identifiable key project values. The reason this is so important to get this correct up front is because these are the items that we're going to look back to throughout not only this advisory committee, through the year of the design, through the year of the construction. All decisions should harken back to these key project values. And does the decision enhance or take away from what was initially set out on this project? And so to run through what the team had identified as key project values, we have durable and maintainable, a flexible design, prominent entrance, a practical design, a building in the site that is a community asset, the vehicular separation, so that's specifically like buses and cars, buses and then parent and drop off are separate, and then safety and security. And then meeting 2 recap, and after I go, we had 2, typically I will do an update after every meeting because the first meeting was mostly introductions, introducing who Ensign Architects is. I'm gonna do 2 meeting recaps, then I'll open it to the floor for any additional questions before I move on to the Forks High School Athletic Fields project. So the second meeting, which was just last Thursday, the key objective was to identify project challenges, including the interim housing for Forks Middle School students and potential impacts to the community. So essentially, where are these students going to go while we tear down and build them a new school? Next slide, please, Hazel. Thank you. So the project challenges that were identified, 1, first and foremost, interim housing for the Forks Middle School students. Community outreach, identifying how to message the bond details to QVSD voters. Budget, it's a quote unquote challenge for every K-12 project, not just Forks Middle School. The neighborhood impact during construction, truck routing, et cetera, making sure we're being essentially good neighbors, forthright with the community about what to expect for about 16 months is the way we see it roughly now. And I have a schedule after this slide as well that we can take a look at for questions. The annex building, some community members want it to remain. Could see that as a challenge, as it obviously takes up part of the site that could be used for something else. Grades 5 through 8 at a middle school site, accommodating elementary age students at a middle school campus. For example, there's currently a playground. We typically wouldn't have one at a middle school because they're 5th graders, we do. So again, just something to work around. Construction safety, if students are to remain on site during construction, student safety is critical. Parent drop off and pickup. Parents are currently overflowing onto the streets due to the lack of the queuing length, something that we're going to want to address in the new design. A 2-story building. This we got kind of mixed results on. Some teachers have concerns over stairs in the school, while others think it's a necessity to minimize the building footprint, i.e. have more room if the annex building has to stay, if we need to keep a playground, if we need more queuing length for cars to move in and around the site. So again, some saw that as a challenge to go to 2 stories, some saw it as a big benefit. And then one of the better discussions we had was the last bullet point on interim housing messaging. You know, why messaging to the community, why is the temporary solution for student housing not a great permanent solution? So as an example, if we're having some students, as an example, I'm not saying we're doing this exactly, but 5 through 8 are currently at the middle school. If the idea is 5th grade goes back to elementary, 6th grade is in the annex building, and 7 and 8 come into the high school with 9 through 12. You know, why don't we just stay with that model long term? Why do we even need a middle school? So the reason for all of this is just to get out in front with what we think are large project challenges and be able to field them and identify them before they come up. And then lastly, I have a schedule. You can kind of see where we are today in late October.
Can you stop 1 minute? We talked about temporary housing by putting modular, portable units on site. And then when Jay talked about the potential cost, I think everybody on the committee went, don't even consider it.
So as an example, I'm working on a school right now with 2 elementary schools are going on at the same time. Construction just broke ground a couple of months ago. What the design team had advised them, one elementary school has a lot of acreage. Basically, it's the size of Forks Elementary and Forks High School's properties combined. And then there's another school that is very small. So what we had advised is you build the new elementary school on the large campus. You wait on the small elementary school. When the first elementary school is done, they move out of their old elementary into the new. The kids now move out of their small elementary school into the old elementary school. You tear it down, you build it up, and then you can move them back and you figure out what you do with the old elementary school at that point. This school district decided not to go that route because of the 1-year delay that other school would have. They would rather have a concurrent building model rather than a consecutive. Obviously, they're the final decision makers, but what that ended up having to be now is on the large site, we have 20 portables, 20 double portables. And that came with a cost of $6.5 million.
Horrible.
And they're going to end up going away once the construction's done. So once I shared that story, everybody was kind of like, okay, not the portable idea, at least not for a whole middle school. Now, are maybe 2 needed for 4 classrooms? Possibly, but still to be determined. But
We don't want that temporary figure to cut into the new building, the
exactly,
money.
that goes against going back to the key project values of the practical designer. That's like the antithesis of the $6.5 million kind of down the drain to save basically a year of project escalation is what they were worried about. The inflation costs of building costs going up every year. Like I said, they make that final call. So back to this project. So currently in pre-bond here in late October. Like I said, we're going to be meeting monthly, and I will be updating you monthly. The regular cadence from here on out is going to be first Thursday of every month for advisory committee, and then second Tuesday of every month to update you all. I understand November we're going to be meeting on Wednesday because Veterans Day is on a Tuesday. So the idea is the bond passes in November 2026. We're able to start design January 2027. It then goes into permitting. Construction starts. Sorry, I had to do it in 2 rows so that it's larger for you all. But then construction begins when students are out of school in June 2028. And then there's a full school year where they're in some interim housing situation. And then they are back in school when school starts in fall 2029. That the timing is critical for a contractor to be able to have 2 summers, especially in Pacific Northwest, but especially in Forks, to get 2 summers of relatively good weather so that the first summer can be demolishing the old Forks Middle School to whatever extent that ends up being, getting site utilities laid out and building pad laid so that they can start going vertical once the weather starts to turn to like it is today. And then the 2029 summer essentially being the asphalt parking lot, any landscaping that needs to be done, kind of all your flat work once the contractor then moves out, all of his staging area is out. And I do want to point on the bottom right of this is a conceptual schedule. We've discussed this previously, but the intent is to deliver this project as GCCM. So we're actually going to be hiring a contractor provided the bond passes, hiring a contractor right at the start of design. So they're obviously going to have a ton of say in their project schedule, the sequencing of things, if all of the buildings should be taken down at once or whatever that is. But this is a conceptual schedule that I have seen work in the past and has been successful. And if you can stay on this, please, Hazel. Any questions before we move on to the athletic fields updates?
I just want to give kudos to the committee members. They've all shown, with the exception of one who's had some other commitments, and I don't know that he's going to be a part of it, but they've all been very forthcoming in their comments, very truthful, respectful, and they're there to make sure we get a new building. I heard really positive things from the committee members.
Yeah.
Including Bill and Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, the committee, I mean, from one, just an attendance perspective, when Diana was asking about the committee, I said, try and invite 15 to 16 and hopefully you'll get 12 at each meeting. And we had all but one. We were really crammed around these tables right here and start selling tickets. But yeah, they've been great. And everyone has the mindset that it's not just about them. It's about the whole, and not just about 2029 in Forks, but about 2079 in Forks. What does this look long term? So, did you want to talk at all, Diana, about our discussion with Phil about dollars, or you want to for next meeting when we actually have some real, some better updates? Sorry to throw this on you.
No. I'm going to leave that to you if you think you've got a good grasp on it. I came into the meeting a little bit late and I'm a little foggy on the
Go ahead.
timelines.
So we met with Phil Partington. Phil Partington is with OSPI, Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. He is our Northwest Regional Coordinator for SCAP funding, the School Construction Assistance Program. That's what you hear as state match. Again, I quote, it's by no means a dollar for dollar match, but he's really critical. And after we've gone through the study and survey that I performed with the design team a couple of summers ago now, and evaluating basically assessing the buildings and giving it a number grade, if you will, going through all of the square footages, Phil has then put that into their system and noted of all of the square footage, including the annex building so I'm just talking about the middle school site right now, between the annex building, the main building, the gym building, and the covered play, which in a covered play, you get half square footage credit. So that's a 5,400 square foot covered play, but we get credit for 2,700. Anyways, he's identified a total of around $20 million that the district would be eligible for SCAP funding, which is a very large number. I don't know that I need to tell all of you that it's more than we were initially expecting, so that's really great. The reason I was asking Diana if we want to hold off a little bit is because those numbers do fluctuate slightly. They're based on October enrollment, and because we're in October right now, they'll fluctuate a little bit. Not fluctuate, we're going from 20 to 17 million, but 20.7 to 20.6 or 20.8 kind of an idea. The other key piece of this in terms of and messaging is our next meeting. So next Thursday, I'll be back here with the advisory committee. We're talking about how to message this. We've gone back and forth with Phil, and there's basically a rolling clock. So through October 2026, we will have access to enrollment numbers in 2019, i.e. pre-COVID, when there were just frankly more. If we do not pass November 2026 and we have to re-go again, or we decide to hold off for some reason or one reason or another, and we have to re-up and go in February 2027, those 2019 numbers fall off. And our average enrollment then goes down, i.e. we get less money. So we've been working with Phil to, again, update his numbers, because once we have the October enrollment numbers, which get finalized on the 1049 form with OSPI, once those get finalized this December, then we'll actually have a pretty solid number, not like down to the dollar, but
Pretty solid.
accurate, yeah, to be able to message it to the community.
A strong estimate, I think
Thank
is what he said.
Yes.
Great.
So is that
Yeah.
state funding or is that federal funding?
That's SCAP, that's
Yeah.
state,
Yeah.
that's timber dollars.
And does that
Oh.
depend on how many other schools are building?
No, it's not. That's a good question. It's not as if there's like a bucket and
The
ooh,
first
I
10.
hope nobody else really wants to draw from this bucket. No, it's all based on your square footage. The making sure the buildings are old enough, and they are old enough to tear down. Yeah. And then you also get, it's different for modernization. If we were doing a modernization, we would get substantially less versus a what's called new in lieu or replacement tear down and build something new.
Good,
That is good.
that is, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Bill called me afterward and we were like, yeah, this is awesome.
It is really good. I think it's like 78%. You can max out at 100%. When we did this building, we got 100%. But 78% is really good.
So will we have a nearly firm or a idea by the time we go to publicizing and the bond?
Yes, after the enrollment, October 2025 enrollment gets finalized in December, we should have a pretty firm number for the public in January 2026.
Because the
before
whole
November
messaging thing
20.
is starting about then,
Exactly.
the idea.
Oh, and sorry, one last thing on the pre-bond. We're only going through June at the latest because the last thing we want is to surprise people a week before the vote. We want to make sure everything is clear and concise. We're getting the message out early. That's why we have a pretty aggressive schedule to make sure that everything is getting out to voters, particularly before school ends. Not that everyone that's a voter is tied to the school, of course, but.
We'll start some pre-messaging in January. If you remember, I'm working with consultants and they're going to get a schedule of everything. And then the committee is going to help figure out like what additional messaging are we missing. Some folks I heard at a meeting today wish we still handed out old schedules for all of our athletics. I mean, it's going to depend on the age and who the voters are. That's really important. And then getting additional voters, if there are the younger age parents who aren't on the voting list, well, why aren't you voting?
So you were working with this consultant on web pages and stuff. How did were you able to send those
We got
suggestions to them?
we
from the
got
committee
some
meeting?
feedback because we've got a one-page facilities, what we're doing with facilities, and I got feedback from the group.
Right.
And then I meet with them tomorrow. So I'll know more tomorrow. I haven't met with them yet.
Okay. Anybody else on Forks Middle School? It's gonna happen.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Good. Okay, Jay, why don't you fold right into
All right, thank you.
Spartan Field?
Yes, so the Forks High School athletic fields, you can see on the site, for those that aren't aware, they're currently planned to be just south of the elementary school and football field. And next slide, please. You can get a sense of the layout. The white rectangular building you see in the middle, that's the existing covered place. You just kind of see roughly where they're laid out. Baseball on the east, softball on the west. There's a dark rectangle in the middle. That is a restroom building. There will be a second floor for PA announcing, calling games, and running the scoreboard for athletics. The road between the two fields, that came from discussions with the city and being able to have emergency access onto the field if, God forbid, an outfielder gets hit in the head with a ball or something, something like that. They would enter off of East E Street, which has a really good access line direct to the hospital. So that's what you're seeing there. Turf fields. Sorry, I wanted to start with that. Infield and outfield. That's a huge deal for this project, obviously out in Forks, that people are coming from far away. It rains here. You have to make a call at 9 a.m. It's frustrating when it's then beautiful and sunny at 10, and then, the field dries out and you could have played a game. This will help mitigate a lot of those concerns. I will also note the last thing is There is a planned, quote unquote, second phase of this project. We would love to do stadium lighting on these fields, but realize that the dollars just aren't going to be there day one. And so what we're doing right now is working with Musco Lighting, who is a light pole manufacturer, and getting these items placed so that we can run the conduit underneath the fields now. So that when the lights are ready, they can just put them in the place that they need to be and not have to tear up your brand new nice field.
So just a quick question back.
Yeah.
In looking at the pictures before, the right field, or the left field is a short fence, short by pro standards, I guess. I don't know. What is the
That's a
distance to
softball.
left field in the baseball field?
290, I believe. We want to shoot for 300, with wanting to give space for those future light poles. We ended up being a little bit short. We reviewed other fields within district that Forks High School athletes would play, and these are all, that baseball field in particular is larger than every other field that they would play on. So
How about the on the softball side or the fast pitch side?
that's a standard 200 foot.
Right. Is that whole, because that's a big field. Is it because of that little L in the southwest corner that, is that, would that be big enough? I mean,
Yeah, fast pitch 200 feet is actually.
no, not fast, but
Oh.
is it too small an area for the, yeah, I guess it is. Never mind.
Okay.
Disregard.
Another thing.
And how wide does the roadway need to be?
22 feet, I believe, with a hammerhead.
What's a hammerhead?
Sorry, a hammerhead is the shape you see there, kind of looks like a hammerhead shark,
Yeah.
where it turns left and right. And that's basically to allow a fire truck or ambulance to pull in, back up, and turn around a 3-point turn.
Oh, okay.
Another thing I wanted to note about these fields is these are not just, they are called Forks High School athletic fields. These are not just for Forks High School. One, they will be open to elementary school students. We've actually had a lot of discussions with the district weekly in our meetings on Wednesdays about where gate locations are, discussed with the principal about monitoring, but they should be able to utilize these fields just like they do currently, just they're going to be much nicer fields, of course, for the elementary students to play. We're also doing, for very little additional costs, doing additional base paths on these fields, so that the Little League can use them if necessary. They're directly south to you all. So as an example, on the softball field, there will be 60-foot base paths, which is standard for fast pitch, and then also 50-foot base paths, which is a T-ball distance. And then baseball, I believe we settled on 60, 80, and 90. So Little League, kind of a Babe Ruth, and then a high school 90-foot base path. So I just wanted to reiterate that because it's called Forks High School Athletic Fields. It is by no means just for Forks High School.
We did that on the football field and we partnered with the city on that.
Mhm.
Wasn't that it, to keep that open to the public?
Well, we got that grant.
Yeah, we had to get the grant because it didn't come directly to the school district. It had to come through the city. And so that they got the money and then passed it on to us, but we had to go into a 50-year agreement that people could access it when they were accessing it.
And we got the same grant for these, didn't we?
But this one could go to schools.
Schools, yeah.
They changed the parameters of the grant. And then the other thing, I was at a meeting today where there were.
But I mean, but one of the reasons we sold it, we got the grant, is because we're opening it to the community, right? Okay.
Which we would do for this.
Yeah.
I was at a meeting with Little League representation and other entities in the Little League. I explained all of this. They were really happy.
Awesome.
And then they were really happy to hear that they could paint if they needed to use it for soccer during the summer. So again, I'm repeating it so you all hear that. We would allow that. There's paint you can put on the fields that then dissipates.
Oh.
But the other thing that I was apprised of in my meeting is that Sklallam tribe, Elwha tribe, Quileute tribe get a lot of money for youth that they don't know how to spend, and that we could get additional money for our boards, our scoreboards. And that there's a way to access that, and she's gonna help me figure that out. So where we would request it, kind of like they did at the,
Yeah.
What's the bottom line on lights? You say, I mean, you must have some ballpark figure on,
I would estimate somewhere in the 800,000 to 1.2 million, so around $1 million extra for stadium lighting. That would be to light both baseball and softball.
right. Well, there's an option for tribal money too, if it came to it. And then it becomes a real city function because softball can play, they have city leagues that are also hampered by
Mhm.
weather and not enough space that could use it after dark.
Mhm.
Although in the summer it never gets dark. Everybody's too tired to play, but.
Or you could get a game like last night where it goes 18 innings.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's the little part off?
On the left,
On
so
the left.
the current, so we're showing that because the current discus.
Oh, it's a discus.
It's actually
Oh.
rotated and it interferes with our fast pitch field, so we're showing that because we're gonna have the contractor rotate. Actually, the district noted that they're gonna rotate it so that they're just throwing directly south.
Oh, okay.
Except for the wayward throws.
Yeah.
And how much is a bathroom gonna cost? Bathroom slash an scorekeeper?
So we're working on cost opinions right now. Sorry, can you go to the next page? So that's the restroom. Two stalls with a custodial closet slash electrical room in the middle. And then, as I mentioned before, stairs up to the athletics room. Above, they'll have windows on both ends to be able to see the fields. The big deal with this building is, again, not just thinking about 2027, but further down the line, we'd like to at some point in that phase 2 mentioning with stadium lights, or we do stadium lights now, we just do this part later, is to extend the building up or to the north so that they can provide concessions. So that's why the stairs are located where they are.
Diamond Club.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
diamond.
and athletic storage as well
Mm-hmm.
for baseball. They're currently using they were using the covered play as a batting cage, and it's obviously not great long term for a batting cage.
Okay.
And then, Bill, to your question, the bottom line on the restroom. So here on the schedule, you see we're in design. We're going out to permit in less than a month, November 14th. Once we are in for permitting, that's when we're going to be getting cost opinions again from the design team. This building did grow. It was initially a one-story building, and we decided to make it a two-story to have the athletics abilities. So we need to rerun those numbers and take a look at what they are holistically. But the idea in the grand scheme of things is this, unlike the Forks Middle School project, is going to be a traditional delivery method or a design bid build. So we're going to be finishing designing in early 2026, going out to bid in the spring, and then giving the contractor, again, the 2 summers for building these fields. We don't anticipate it to take that long, but it's better to give them more than what's needed. And so the idea is they'll be done when students come back fall 2027.
Hey, Bill, you had said something about all this work could in some way help alleviate the elementary school flooding.
Correct.
Could you explain on that?
There's an 18-inch pipe that runs all the way across from the east side all the way across to our current 18-inch pipe, which is just past the discus. If we go back to the map, we can take a look at that. Walk around here so I can show you guys. So we take a lot of water from the farmer's field and across from the creek goes across here. So it comes right across here. There's a culvert pipe here, and then there's a catch basin and one over on the other side. We get so much water, the catch basins fill on the dry well, it just pumps the water across under the road, and then it also comes across the culvert. All this flows is a great big creek across here. And so it doesn't leave us a lot of water, room for the overflow coming off the playground where the dry well is for all of the parking. And so what they're gonna do is take an 18-inch culvert pipe and go all the way across here. And then they're gonna come off that dry well that's in that existing playground, and they're gonna put a 12-inch culvert and tie it right into that 18-inch. And that's gonna alleviate all that water that comes into that catch basin that's under that big dry well, and it will pump it right into that 18-inch line and take it right off there. So we shouldn't have any more flooding at the elementary school once that goes in.
Well, that could be a selling point. I mean,
Yeah,
just one
and
to
then
keep in
It
mind.
ties in right about here, which goes into the city, well, to our culvert that goes to the city stormwater.
And there's enough capacity in the city, or I don't know how stormwater runoff works, but,
It goes there already on the water that goes across. It flows
oh,
into it
okay.
already.
So
And so
it eventually even the stuff in the parking lot
it
eventually goes there.
There's a small line right through here. So all this backs up over to here, and then there's
Okay,
a line that goes
so
through
there's-
here to here. And it lets the overflow come out, but it's very slow because it goes into a bunch of gravel back here.
And the fields will be like a football field. They're permeable and,
Correct, because they're gonna put drain fields into each one of these fields, so you'll have drainage underneath the field as well for the regular rainwater. So we're catching all that big water that's coming across, and at the same time, fields are catching all the rainwater with the drain fields that are going. And that's a big thing for AES to come out, Associated Earth Sciences, when they come out and drill their holes and check all the perking and such and what's down below. So they'll be here again on the 17th of November. So, but Jay and I have talked about this, and we've talked about it with the engineers just to make sure they understand how much water comes across. So as a matter of fact, the engineers are coming on the 6th, November 6th, to take a look at the creek and how the water flows and comes across here, just so we make sure that
Be here
Well, we have
Friday.
rain for them by then, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just want them to see how much water comes through here. I mean, we get enough water that it runs down the back of the sidewalk and floods this area out here. So we want to make sure they see where all that water's coming from. But being able to alleviate that water off the parking lot's huge. And so that's going to make a huge
Yeah,
difference.
because if you go back to the other picture, slide back
One more.
there, then you can kind of see where
Mhm.
the creek actually comes from the other property,
Yeah, it comes
Yeah,
across
right
from
into-
here. And
goes
so
underground.
Mhm.
if you notice, you can see this fence line here. That didn't used to be there. And so when they added this fence in there, if you look over there, it's kind of made like a little bit of a natural berm now because the grass has kind of grown into that fence. And so that water used to flow down and across like this. So we would get some, and then the Little League fields would get a big majority. If you guys remember, you probably remember it being underwater over there or something.
yeah.
Well, that doesn't all flow that way so much anymore. So we take a lot more water coming across our properties now. And so having this is going to really help alleviate that water, and then at the same time drain all this off, because all this water here from this building, the parking lot, goes to that dry well right in the middle of that playground. So tying onto that and coming out is going to make a huge difference. I think that'd be a huge one for the community. So you can actually, we won't have to put cones out there and block the parking lot off.
Yeah.
You know, and if your car's parked there, good luck getting to it.
Cones or buoys, I guess.
Yeah. So,
While we're on this, Hazel, one other thing I've recommended, because Bill brought up the parking lot. Of course, you could park in the Forks Elementary School parking and just walk directly south
Mhm.
to both fields, but there's also going to be a walkway that goes around the south end of the football field and ties to the Forks High School parking lot. That's actually where we're gonna want like visiting team bus, parking, and then go along what I would just call an athletics walk that would tie to the baseball field directly adjacent to the football field to the south.
Great. Any questions for him at this stage?
No, it's good.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Jay. See you later. Safe travels. Don't get blown away.
Hope you get around the lake.
I'll go the other way. There aren't as many big
Mhm.
trees to block when they blow down. Okay, moving on to second reading of our board policy 6550, capitalization threshold for leases and subscription-based information technology arrangements. It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
SBITAs.
Mhm.
So Does everybody remember what that was about? And if so, see you, Jay. If so, we need a motion to adopt that new policy. Actually, yeah, okay,
I'll make a motion, we adopt board policy number 6550.
I'll second it.
great. Any last second questions? All those in favor then say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, it is policy. Next on our unfinished business list is the Constitution and bylaws for the class of 2032.
I know it.
It's only 6
Yeah.
years away, so it's 2 heartbeats.
So my understanding is this is the one they passed last time, right? But fifth graders changed it to class of 2032 instead of the fifth grade class.
I thought we did this
Yeah.
before.
So that's the change.
Oh, okay. All right, given that monumental change, is there a motion to approve these bylaws, Constitution?
I'll make a motion, we approve the Constitution bylaws for the class of 2032.
Thank you.
Second it.
Great. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Nobody said no. And there, it's approved. You can tell those fifth graders that they're in business. All right, let's go to new business. The USDA, number one is USDA Adult Lunch Equity Tool for 25-26. Would you like to tell us what that's all about?
Yes, every year we're required to do this adult lunch equity tool review, and Sherry Llewellyn does this. And so based on a tool that she uses from the federal, the feds, we have to increase our price of adult lunch to $5.16 and increase breakfast to $3. I think it's a little over $1 for each. But
Okay,
it was increased. It used to be at 4 something and 2 something. I don't know the exact amount.
okay,
So every adult, teachers, employee, anybody, they
Yes.
buy their food.
Yes. They do not get their food for free.
all right. Given that there's kind of a budget standoff, are any of these programs,
No,
our food program, going to be
No.
affected? Okay,
not at this point.
since it's coming up on the 1st of November. All right, well, this one also requires this approval for this revised equity tool needs to be a motion.
Make a motion, we pass the USDA Adult Lunch Equity Tool for 2025-26.
Second,
I'll second.
good, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, it passes. I mean, it's approved. Next is Inside School of Washington's 25-26 High School Handbook. Myron, would you like to say anything about this?
Yeah, so basically we have 3 different versions of the handbook. They're all for the most part identical. The biggest differences between the 3 versions is the high school one has graduation requirements, those kinds of pieces in it. The high school and middle school are essentially the same with that exception. Elementary is almost exactly the same as well with that exception. The biggest changes we made this year on the high school side of things, we moved from a trimester model to a semester model, so we had to make some adjustments for that. So the monthly progress determination that's required by the state for us to meet with students and measure their progress towards their written student learning plans needed to be adjusted because we have more courses under the semester model than we did in the trimester model. So we had to look at the more courses that the students were taking as part of that determination. Some of the other big, huge call outs were we clarified in all the handbooks what it means to be out of state. So one of the things that we see that happens on occasion is families think that because they're attending online, they can do it from anywhere in the world or anywhere in the United States, when the state law is very clear that students attending our school and attending Cooley Valley School District need to physically be in the state of Washington. So we kind of clarified some language on that so we can make sure that that's much clearer to our families, and provided some more guardrails around that. And then in the academic integrity policies, we added a section on AI, basically pulling a lot from the OSPI guidance around artificial intelligence and how that can be used in school. Kind of walking through, whether AI is allowed or not allowed, and the way the teachers are going to present that to students so they're aware of what that might be. So those are the big significant changes that you'll see. And we apologize for getting this out a little bit later this year. As you know, we went through some major system changes, and that was a bigger lift than we thought. So we thought it was more important to make sure we got all of our kids in school and make sure we had all of our kids and teachers supported. And so this kind of took a little bit of a backseat, but we are now here. So there we go.
Any questions for Myron on those? All right, well, if we need a motion to approve the high school handbook for ISWA,
I'll make a motion to approve the ISWA 2025-2026 high school handbook.
great,
I'll second.
thanks, Ron. Okay, all those in favor of approving the high school handbook for ISWA, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed, say no. Okay, well, that's done. Same for the middle school handbook. Is there a motion to adopt?
Make a motion, we adopt that ISAWA 2025-2026 middle school handbook.
Great. Second,
I'll second it.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. And last, but certainly not least, is there a motion to adopt the elementary school handbook for Inside School of Washington 25-26 school year?
I'll make a motion, we approve Inside School of Washington's 25-26 elementary school book, and
I'll second it.
Great. All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Well, there you have it. That, with the exception of an executive session, concludes that part of our meeting. How long do you anticipate we're having an executive session to review public employee performance?
I would say for 15 minutes until 7:10. It gives us a chance to get, no, wait, 20 minutes till 7:10.
Okay, 20 minutes.
That gives us a chance.
Are
to-
we anticipating any action?
No,
We're not anticipating any board action after said executive session. So you're welcome to hang if you want.
You want these ones?
thanks for coming,
Yeah,
everyone. Thank you, Bill, for a great report.
good work.
Have a good evening.
You're good.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Okay.
We're back at 7:10 from executive session and we are adjourned. Good night to you. Do you guys need it?